regardless of where you sit in the organization, you can be a leader. You can be the person who stands up and says, it's common knowledge that our culture isn't where it needs to be, and let's partner to fix this. And so at the end of the day, every employee can be a dealer in hope for your organization. It's just a matter of you having the confidence and courage to stand up and say, we've got an issue here, let's tackle it.
Welcome to another episode of the peopleHum interview series. I'm your host Akanksha Kulkarni, and let's begin with a quick introduction of peopleHum. peopleHum is an end-to-end, one-view integrated human capital management automation platform, the winner of the 2019 Global Cody Award for HCM that is specifically built for crafted employee experiences and the future of work. We run the peopleHum blog and the video channel, which receives upwards of 200,000 visitors a year and publish around 2 interviews with well-known names globally every month. And now for our guest, Jill Christensen is one of the most in-demand and top-rated female speakers in the world today. Named top 101 global employee engagement influencer, she takes audiences on a journey that educates and inspires people to act. In 3 short years, Jill has been booked to present her proven strategy to re-engage employees to more than 150,000 people in 21 industries, 38 US states and 7 countries across. We are extremely happy to have her on our interview series today. Welcome, Jill. We are thrilled to have you.
Oh, thank you. I am so excited to be here and delve into the area of employee experience and employee engagement. It is my passion.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for your time. So let's begin with our interview. And the first question that I would like to ask you is, can you tell us a little bit about your work as an employee engagement expert?
Absolutely. So I have worked in many different industries and across many different countries. And what I have found that regardless of what country I'm working in, regardless of whether there are millennials or baby boomers, like younger or older employees, regardless of what industry I'm in, the vast majority of organizations around the globe are made up of dysfunctional workers. So we only have about 13% employee engagement globally. That means that close to 90% of employees go to work each day and they're basically sleepwalking through their day. So they're physically there putting in time, but there's no creativity, no energy, no passion. They don't trust leaders. They're not giving you their discretionary effort. They don't feel an emotional connection to the organization. And when I saw this again across the world, across industries, across generations, I really felt like that it's unnecessary and that somebody needed to do something about this. And so 4 years ago, I collected a lot of data and I wrote a book about a strategy about how to crack the code of employee disengagement. And now for the past 3 years, I've been traveling around the globe, speaking at major business conferences, evangelizing and teaching people truly how simple employee engagement really is. It's not rocket science. You have to approach it strategically and methodically. You need to get leaders and managers engaged. And if you do that, you can absolutely succeed. What I find is many organizations understand that their culture is not where it needs to be and that their employees are disengaged, but absent of a strategy to fix it, they're stuck in place and they stay frozen, or they continue to do what they've done in the past to fix their culture. And we all know that, what we've done in the past doesn't work because the global employee engagement numbers are barely moving.
Right, correct. That's a great job that you're doing. And thank you so much for that. So can you tell us a little something about, if not you, who? How to Crack the Code of Employee Disengagement, the book that you just mentioned?
Exactly. So the entire premise of my book is, regardless of whether or not you are in human resources, it's important for you, if you understand the importance of employee engagement and know that your company isn't where it needs to be, it's critical for you, if not you, who? Whether you're in IT, finance, sales, to stand up and say, our culture isn't where it needs to be, and what we've done historically isn't working. So let's embrace a new approach. Let's embrace a new strategy and do something different. Embark on an employee engagement journey that actually works. And in my book, the crux of my book is really that the vast majority of organizations continue to fail in this space, in my opinion, because they cling to outdated methodologies to improve cultures that simply don't work. And
Right.
what is the most popular methodology to fix a culture? Senior leaders outsource it to HR and ask them to fix the culture all on their own. And the reason why this doesn't work, this is not anything negative against human resources, but the reason why this doesn't work is because although HR owns fixing the culture in 95% of organizations, it doesn't own the people who have the greatest impact on culture change, and that's your frontline managers. So instead of leaders saying, human resources, fix our culture issues, the way this truly works is by a senior leader standing up and saying, our culture isn't where it needs to be, and frontline managers, I need to partner with you to help fix this.
Right.
Because again, we know that frontline managers are the people who have the greatest impact on culture because they have the most interaction with employees. And so it's the experience that managers create in an organization that causes employees to either stay engaged or disconnect. And so that's really the strategy that works. Senior leaders standing up and engaging managers, and managers doing things differently with their employees in the trenches. HR cannot own this by themselves and fix the culture. I believe that an organization cannot succeed in this space if the senior leader doesn't stand up and admit that we have a problem and then say, but that's okay. We're going to move forward. We're going to partner and work on this and fix this and create that amazing culture together.
Right.
However, the title of my book is called what it is, if not you, who, because, again, if you're not going to stand up and say, senior leaders, we really need to get our arms around this. Senior leaders, you might not know this, but lots of employees are disengaged. Somebody needs to have the confidence and courage to stand up in the organization and say, what we've done historically isn't getting us the results that we're looking for. So we need to do this differently. And, it only takes one person to raise the issue and to shine a light on it in order for the organization to say, wow, that really is a problem that either we haven't addressed at all or that we've tried to address and what we've done hasn't yielded the best results. So let's approach it differently. But again, somebody has to have the courage to stand up and bring this issue to the forefront, which is why my book is called If Not You, Who?
I really like that line, if not you, who? That just, that really, that question is for everyone, no matter what
Absolutely.
aspect you are working in, right?
Absolutely. Because, many times I think organizations expect HR to stand up and say, we have a culture problem, or for HR to stand up and put a plan in place to fix the culture problem. But that's not how culture works. It
Right.
truly is not a grassroots initiative. The definition of culture is how we do things here, right? So in order for an organization to change its culture, you simply need to do things here differently tomorrow than you're doing here today, which
Right.
means you need to stop relying on HR to fix all of your employee engagement issues, because that's not where the problem started. That's not where the problem is going to start, and it's not where the problem ends. The problem begins with a senior leader acknowledging the problem and then saying, we're all going to band together to create that amazing culture that no one can imagine leaving, and that it inspires every employee every day to be the best version of themselves. And it's a team effort. It's not HR's responsibility.
Right. I agree with you, and I really love your answer. And apart from HR, what do you think like about leveraging technology to boost employee engagement?
Oh, technology is absolutely critical. So when an organization decides that they are going to embark on an employee engagement journey, one of the smartest things that they can do is to employ technology to help them fast track their journey, right? So you could do this without technology, and I promise you, it's going to take you a longer period of time because there are extraordinary employee engagement, recognition, two-way communication, performance management, collaboration, tools in the marketplace
Right.
from organizations that understand the importance of employee engagement and the importance of the employee experience, and they know their stuff. And so once you decide as an organization that you're going to embark on a journey, I highly recommend that you go out into the marketplace and you look at the tools and technologies that are available to you because they can automate your journey, they can fast track your journey, and then they can absolutely make your journey easier by making it, taking away some of the manual processes. And again, enabling and relying on technology just to make all of it simpler.
Right. So technology is just one step that's going to help you to get there, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So moving on to our next question that I would like to ask you, what habits do successful managers practice when it comes to employee engagement? What have you seen throughout your career as such?
So, a lot of people say to me, well, Jill, if a CEO stands up and says, managers, we need your help, um, a lot of people believe that managers are going to push back because it's more work and their plates are already full, right?
Right.
But what I've seen is that managers don't push back. If you are working in an organization with a dysfunctional culture, most people know it. Managers know it. And they are more than happy to be a part of the solution, especially when the CEO is standing up there and saying, admitting, right, that our culture isn't where it needs to be, but we're going to move forward together and partner on a solution. And then I always recommend to employees, you can't leave it to chance. You can't say to your managers, you need to do a better job with performance management or with onboarding or with communication or with recognition. The CEO needs to stand up and tell managers specific actions that they can be doing in the trenches to create high levels of employee engagement. So, from my experience, as long as you guide your managers and let them know, here are the things that we need all managers to do. Here is our employee engagement strategy. Managers, we need you to execute on these things. And by the way, these are things that managers should have already been doing, right? Recognition, performance management, strong onboarding, two-way communications. It's just that many times in an organization, the culture isn't in a good place because you've got some managers doing these things well, some managers doing these things poorly, and other managers not doing these things at all. So I have found that when a senior leader stands up and says, managers, here's the roadmap, here's the blueprint, here's exactly what we need you to do, that managers are grateful because they're actually being told specific actions and steps versus them having to figure it out on their own. So the leader needs to, again, stand up and say, our culture isn't where it needs to be, but we know from employees the areas that will drive massive levels of employee engagement in them, right? They tell us that we need you to do a better job with who you hire and who you terminate. You need to get the right person in every chair. They tell us we want our goals to be aligned with the CEO's goals so that we feel like we're connected to something bigger than ourselves and walking in the same direction toward the same North Star with all of our peers. They tell us that they want to have a voice at work and they want their voice to be heard. They tell us that they want to be acknowledged and appreciated for a job well done, right? We know that these things drive engagement in employees. And so as an organization, your CEO needs to stand up and say, our culture isn't where it needs to be. We're going to fix this. And here are the areas that we're going to work on. Managers, here's what we need you to do in the space of recognition. Managers, here's what we need you to do in the space of performance management. And again, when you give managers specific direction, they are grateful, they can follow it much more easily, and again, they have the ability to be successful because they're all going to market with their teams consistently. I find that with the organizations that I've guided, they have all increased employee engagement between 5 and 33 points in 6 months. So again, it really does not take a lot of time because the definition of culture is how we do things here. And so if you start doing things here differently tomorrow than you're doing today, you can start to affect your culture tomorrow. Now, is it going to take a little bit of time for that to take hold and for employees to recognize that, oh, this isn't just a program or an initiative, it's something that they're in it for the long haul and they're serious about it, and it's a journey that they're going to be focusing on for years to come? Once employees see that, they're going to start to believe that you're serious about creating that amazing workplace culture. And they're going to begin to trust senior leaders again. They're going to begin to feel an emotional connection to your organization again. And that's the definition of employee engagement.
That's really put into simple words by you, Jill. That was really amazing. Thank you for that. And
Yes.
the next question that I would like to ask you is, building a culture is so important and so difficult at the same time. So, what are the elements of culture do you advise leaders to focus on?
Yes. So again, in my book, I focus on 4 key areas that we know drive massive levels of employee engagement. The first area is getting the right person in every chair. You've got to hire the right people into your organization whose values, whose individual values match your organization's values. Because as you're creating this great culture, you need people in your organization who are a role model for the culture that you're trying to create. Also in this bucket, you really have to put people on a performance plan who have a toxic negative attitude or who are incompetent at their job to the point where everyone around them has to pick up the slack. You can't afford to have people in your company who are weighing you down, because do you want to know what? Everyone in your organization knows who these people are, and do you know what they're thinking? Why isn't senior leadership doing anything about this? And in that moment, you are chipping away at the trust that your engaged employees have in your senior leadership team. And so it is so important for you to clean house and make sure you've got the right people on the bus. Second, employees tell us that they need to feel connected to something bigger than themselves. The easiest way for you to do this as an organization is for every employee's individual goals or individual objectives to be aligned with the CEO's objective. Because then when individuals have goals that are aligned with where the organization is going and the most important goals of the CEO, an employee can see that what they do every day matters. What they do every day is making a difference. What they do every day is adding value, that they're connected to all of their colleagues marching forward in the same direction, trying to accomplish and achieve and to execute on the company goals. Do not write goals based on job descriptions, because then people just look at their goals and they think, oh, here I am on my own little island working on my own little goals. That's not how you get people to feel connected to something bigger than themselves. That's not how you get people to feel inspired. So again, goal alignment is critical. Number 3, build a two-way communication culture. People tell us they want to have a voice at work and they want their voice to be heard. So you need to create opportunities in your organization where you are tapping into the thoughts of your employees. Focus groups is such a simple way to do this. Bring people together. Ask their opinions about a decision that's going to be made before it's made. Then when the decision is made, say, thank you for your input. We appreciate what you shared. This is what we heard from you. Here's the decision that we made, and here's the decision that we didn't make and why. When you make decisions based on what you're hearing in part from employees, that decision will go over so much better than a senior leader or a manager going into a conference room or in an office, making a decision with no input from employees, and then walking out of that office and saying, here's the decision I made, period. That doesn't go over well. It causes people to disengage.
Yeah.
And the fourth area that I recommend organizations focus on, recognition. People tell us they want to be acknowledged and appreciated for a job well done. And so it's critical that organizations create what I call a culture of rampant recognition, where every employee can recognize everyone else. A really simple way to do this is what I call values cards. And so you could have 4 by 6 inch, different around the globe for the metric system, postcards printed up with your organization's values printed on them. Innovation, creativity, accountability, fun, right? These are examples of values. And then a person could write on the card, to Amanda from Tony, and they could check the customer satisfaction value box and then write at the bottom of the card, you did an amazing job, servicing, our customer SAP. Thank you for being a part of the team.
Yeah.
And these cards can be given physically. In our COVID world, these cards could be given electronically, and they make people feel good. They make people understand that I work for an organization that gets it, and that I am working amongst peers who appreciate my contributions, and they recognize me for my efforts. And trust me when I tell you, that causes massive levels of employee engagement. And so again, there are lots of areas where you could focus, right? You could also focus on enhancing training and development, or you could increase the amount of volunteerism that you do in your organization. But I always advise companies not to focus on too many areas at once, okay? If you say to your managers, we're going to focus in 8 to 10 areas, they might get overwhelmed. So I say to organizations, focus in 3 to 4 areas. And again, we know what areas drive engagement because employees tell us this. You can also look at the questions on an employee engagement survey and see the levers that drive employee engagement. And again, if you look at an employee engagement survey, you will see things on there about communication, recognition, goal setting, onboarding, who you hire, how you manage workers who are not pulling their weight, right? You'll see questions about these things on an employee engagement survey because these things have an impact on employee engagement. And so if you're thinking, well, Jill, where should I focus? I'm not sure I want to focus on communication or recognition. Don't just pull this stuff magically out of the air. Yeah. Look at employee engagement surveys, and questions are typically bucketed into 4 to 6 different areas. Survey organizations purposely ask those questions because those questions, those areas drive employee disengagement, or if you're doing things right, employee engagement. So you've got some direction from the questions on employee engagement surveys as to where you can be focusing your efforts to make a major difference. And another thing that organizations have to remember is that this is a journey. It's not a program. It's not an initiative. Once you decide to embark on a culture change or an employee engagement strategy, no, it's going to take time, and it's not something that has an end date in your future. Your culture is a living, breathing thing, and so it's something that you're always going to have to keep your finger on the pulse of it to ensure that once you start making progress, you don't start slipping backwards. Okay? So again, I think that's another big mistake that organizations make. They say, oh, this is our employee engagement program. And the minute you call it a program, your employees think, oh, it's the program du jour, the program of the day. It's going to be here one day, it's going to be gone the next. Don't call it a program, because it's not. It's a journey. Call it an employee engagement journey, because people understand when you use the word journey, that a journey takes time,
Yeah.
right? That a journey happens over time, that a journey isn't overnight. A journey is where at point A, we want to get to point B. It's not necessarily going to be a straight line. We're
Yeah.
not going to get there tomorrow. However, if we approach this journey strategically, and if we partner together and commit to the end point, we will get there.
Right. And even after you get there, to maintain it, that's really important as well.
Absolutely. It's not just that one day, oh, we've found the holy grail of culture and now we can stop focusing on it and walk away.
Right.
As you know, just like a relationship, it takes fertilizer, it takes water, it takes sun, it takes effort, it takes two people focusing on it and contributing to it and giving things to it that it needs, right?
Yeah.
A plant doesn't magically stay alive, right? It
Right.
takes care and feeding and nurturing. Your culture isn't going to magically stay wonderful. It takes care and nurturing and feedings. So think about your culture as a plant, okay? You wouldn't water and fertilize and put sun on a plant for 6 months and then one day just stop and think that it's going to continue to flourish,
Yeah.
okay? You have to nurture it. And if you nurture it, you're going to have a big, beautiful plant. You're going to have a big, beautiful culture. So I believe that's a fantastic analogy because people understand the care and feeding that it takes to make a plant not only grow for 6 months, but grow and flourish forever.
Yeah, even I love that analogy. If you need it to be evergreen, you have to keep on making it.
Eh,
You have to put the efforts into it.
Absolutely, but as in a beautiful plant, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Right? And you can see the benefits and the value of your efforts, right? If you treat a plant well, the plant looks great, right? If you treat a culture well, you're going to end up with a great culture. And so, it's not as if you won't see the fruits of your labor. You absolutely will. And it will feel so amazing because you will see that we took this culture that was really suffering and that
Right.
was causing people a lot of unhappiness and disengagement and pain. And together, we turned this around,
Yeah.
right? And that is such an amazing feeling. And it really is what people inherently are looking for. People tell us they want to make a difference. They want to add value. They want to have meaning at work. They want to be connected to something bigger than themselves. And when you create that amazing workplace culture that everybody is working on and working toward, the way you feel when you start seeing the culture change is absolutely tremendous. Again, you can see the evergreen, you can see the fruits of your labor. And what that causes you to do, in all honesty, is to keep going,
Right.
right? Because you can see the change, and the change is making such an amazing impact, not only for employees, but for your customers, for your vendors, for your shareholders, for your board of directors, for the communities in which you live and work. I mean,
Yeah.
so many different groups benefit when you have an amazing culture.
Jill, that analogy was completely amazing, from a plant to a tree, and that really resonates with employee engagement also. So thank you for that. And next question that I would like to ask you is, employees quit for their managers. So a leader's style drives a lot of engagement. So how would you advise manager to focus on business results with a high attrition rate?
So, yes, we know that people tend to leave managers and not companies. Okay. And again, we talked about this a little earlier. That's because all managers are leading differently. Some managers lead well, some managers lead poorly, and some managers, and quite frankly, don't lead at all.
Right.
Right. And so, this is why employees disconnect. And we know that typically the employees who quit on organizations, their turnover, it comes from employees who are disengaged. It
Right.
doesn't come from employees who trust leaders and feel an emotional connection to your organization. It comes from employees who started out that way, but little by little, their spirit was chipped away over time. And many times that's because they have a poor manager, they have poor leaders, they have poor supervisors. So a way that you can combat this and a way that you can fix this, there are two ways. Most managers in our world are they're elevated or promoted into managerial positions, not because they're great leaders of people, but because they're excellent at their job, right? And so the way we recognize people is by promoting them. And as they get promoted, they have people reporting to them, but nobody ever trained them about how to be a great manager, how to be a great leader of people. So one thing that I recommend all companies do is to have Manager 101 training. You have got to be teaching your managers about basic level management, right? How to recognize people effectively, how to communicate effectively, how to have tough conversations, how to have effective performance management conversations, what to do when you have somebody on your team who has a toxic attitude or who is literally failing at their job, right? How to deal with conflict in the workplace of your team members. People don't know how to manage this. So all managers need to go through basic. It's like basic boot camp. Basic, if you go into the military, right? They give you 6 to 8 weeks of just basic level training. Managers need basic level training inside of organizations. And then if you follow the advice that I've been giving, as it comes to employee engagement, you don't leave this to chance. You don't say to managers, we need to make sure that employees stay engaged. So do what you can do, right? In the areas of communication and performance management and recognition. Like, step it up, but we're not going to tell you exactly how to step it up.
Right.
That is a recipe for disaster. When an organization rolls out an employee engagement strategy, you need to say, here are the 3 to 4 areas where we're going to focus. And within these areas, managers, here are the specific actions we need you to take.
Right.
So for instance, in the recognition bucket, we need you to use these values cards that we've created and hand them out to employees on a regular basis. We need you to start every one of your staff meetings with recognition. We need you to write on posters or paper or whatever, all of the amazing things that the individuals and team members on your teams are doing, and post them on the wall of honor or the wall of fame in our organization, or post them electronically on the intranet, right? On the online wall of honor or wall of fame.
Yeah.
We need you to, have a Zoom video and have all people on the Zoom video give one employee a standing ovation for something amazing that they did. And no words are shared. Everybody just claps, right? These are simple things that managers can do, but they need to be told specifically what they can be doing. You can't leave it to chance. And when you train managers on basic management 101, and then you tell managers specifically what they need to do in the employee engagement space, you're not leaving management to chance. Yes, each manager has a different management style, right? Some are more outgoing, some are more quiet, but they will be managing people similarly. And that's how you create that amazing culture where you've got a much better chance of people not disengaging and leaving you.
Right. So managers are the middle management, right? So if you take care of them and if you guide them properly, they are going to be able to manage the employees better, make employee engagement better, and that might affect more better than if a leader would do it directly.
Absolutely 100%. Because we know that the people in an organization who employees, individual contributors, have the most interaction with is their frontline managers. And so the manager really makes or breaks that cultural experience for the employees on their team. And so again, we can't leave it to chance. We need basic management training for all managers at all levels. And then we need to tell managers specific actions that they need to take with their team members to ensure they stay engaged or to turn their disengaged employees around and re-engage them.
Right. I really love that answer of yours, Jill. And just to wrap up the interview, lastly, do you have any important sound bites that you would like to leave me or the audience with?
Yeah, I think the most important soundbite that I want to leave you with is that regardless of where you sit in the organization, you can be a leader. You
Yeah,
can be the person who stands up and says, it's common knowledge that our culture isn't where it needs to be, and
right.
let's partner to fix this. And
Correct.
so at the end of the day, every employee can be a dealer in hope for your organization. It's just a matter of you having the confidence and courage to stand up and say, we've got an issue here, let's tackle it. And so the last thing that I would lead your listeners with is, if not you, who?
That was amazing, and I really loved all your ideologies, your analogies, and thank you so much for your time and your views, sharing them with us. And it was a pleasure having a conversation with you. Thank you so much, and let's hope to stay connected in the future too. And you stay healthy and you stay safe.
Absolutely, you too. And again, it was an honor to be here. And just remember, everyone, employee engagement is not rocket science.
Right.
Approach it strategically, and you will absolutely be able to soar.
Thank you so much for that, Jill, and hope to see you again.
You're welcome, and thank you so much for having me.